Hello and welcome to WebTech. Today we're going to discuss continuous series of the Python Learn to Py, and this is our third session about Python. Agenda of today meeting is basically first we will see what is variable, then we will see different data types. In the third topic we will see different operation like assignment and logical operation. Second last we will see typecasting, where we'll see how we can convert different data types, for example integers to float to integers and so on. And in the last we will see input function, where we will see how our users can provide the input. So let's start. So what is variable? If I explain in a simple word, a variable is basically a container which store a value. So let's say that x is equal to 10. X, basically here we define a variable and the value 10 we stored in this variable. X is container and the value 10 is stored in this container. Let's take few more example. Let's say that I wanted to take a as a variable, and then I define my value which is 12. Let's take another example, and I'm going to define another variable which is b, and then I am going to store another string value here. And if I run and if I define my a, I will get 12. Why? Because I define this 12 value in the variable a, and if I define my b, I will get Aorb. So this is how we can define our variable. Don't worry about these data types, we will discuss in the next topic. Our next topic is data type, and basically there's a 5 different data types in Python: integers, float, string, boolean, and none. Let me explain with the example. Let's say that I wanted to take example of integer. Let's say that I wanted to store integers value in variable a. Let's say that 33, and if I check the type of a, it will return data type. So here we have integers data type. Let's make the example of string, and in a string we, as you know, that we write in the quotes. So whatever we write in the quotes, it will represent as a string. So let's say that we define a variable b, and I am going to store Aorb as a string. And if I check the type of b, as you can see, it's stored as a string. If you write even numbers inside quote, it will represent a string data type instead of integers. Our next is basically a float, and if I take a variable c, and if I'm going to store a value in points, for example 1.22, and if I check the type of c, it will return as a float. So basically type is a function which gave you the type of the defined variable that I declared here. Our next one is basically a bool. Let's say that variable d, and I'm going to say that true, and if I check the type of d, it will return as a boolean, because true or false is basically represent a boolean values. And our last one is non-type. So if I write variable e and I define none, and if I check the type of none, it will return non-type. So this is how we can store a different data types, and we can check the type by using this type function. So this is how the data types work. So when you define a variable, there is a certain rule that you need to know. The first rule is basically a variable name can contain alphabet, digits, and underscore. Let me explain with example. Let's say that I made 1 underscore is equal to 1. If I run Amir 1 underscore, it will return 1. So you can have underscore, digits and alphabet. The second rule is a variable name can only start with alphabet and underscore. So let's say that Aorb 1 underscore 23. So if I run, it will return 23. So you can start with alphabet or underscore. Let's say that another example, let's say that underscore a is equal to 2, and if you run underscore a, it will return 2. So you can only start with either alphabet or underscore, but in the third rule you cannot start with digits. For example, you cannot say that 2a is equal to 12, and if you run 2a, it will return an invalid decimal literal error. Why? Because you cannot start with the digits. You can start with underscore and alphabet, but you cannot declare your variable with digits. So the fourth rule of the Python is basically no white space is allowed to be used inside a variable name. You cannot make a white space when you define a variable. So for example, you cannot say that a space b is equal to 23, and if you run a space b, you will get invalid syntax because you cannot make white space when you define a variable. And the last rule of the Python is to make sure that variables is also case sensitive, which means that if you say that capital A is equal to 2 and capital small a is equal to 3, and if you run and if you define a, it will return 2, and if you define a, it will return 3. So these are case sensitive. So these are the basic rule. When you write a bigger program, you need a more defined variable, so make sure you have understanding the basic rule when you define a variable. There is a certain way that you can write variables for better program efficiency and readability. So when you have more than 1000 line of code or even 2000, and when you define a variables, and defining variable is one of the most important key in the program. So if you write your variable better way, it will make understanding for others and for you as well. So most of the program basically follow these three principle. One is camel, the second one is Pascal, and the last one is snake case. Let me give a quick example of a camel case. So in a camel case, you basically write first word with small, like and the next word with the first letter capital, and the rest of same as second word. So this is the example of camel case, and the next one is basically Pascal. In a Pascal case, you make all words first letter capital if you define a variable. So let me give example quickly. My first code, so here I write my capital first letter and the rest of as same. So let's say that I wanted to define variables, my first code 3. So this is how you can write Pascal case. And the next one, which is my favorite and most of program I use, snack case. So in a snack case, basically you write all of your words basically small, but you between each word you define to write underscore. So let's say that I'm going to write 13, and I define variable 13. So here you can write the snack case in that way. So this is how you can define your variables in that case. Our next topic is operator. Operator is very important topic for today's sessions. Why operator is important, especially when you're working as a data science and dealing data. So you have to apply some filters, and you can apply filters when you know the basic operators in a Python. It's simply mathematics, nothing complex. So I'll discuss one by one. So there's a four operators we'll see. The first one is arithmetic operators, and the next one is assignment operators, the third one is comparison operators, and the last one is basically logical operators. So let's start with the arithmetic operator. Now we're going to discuss arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operator is basically a simple math like addition, subtractions, divisions, exponent, and so on. So let's take a few example. Let's say that I wanted to take as a variable a, and I am going to store a value 3, and I take another variable which is b, and let's say that I want to define a value 2. So in addition, you basically add the value. Let's see how I can add this to a and b. So a and b, run it. So it will return 5, as a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 2. So a plus b, 3 plus 2 is 5. The next one is subtraction. Basically you subtract the value. So let's say a minus b. If I run it, it will return 1. Why? Because 3 minus 2, 1. The next one is a multiplications. So let's say a multiply b. For the multiply you can use the star, and if you run it, it's gonna be 6. Next one is exponent. Let me give example. A, for the exponent you have to use double star and then b. So basically 3 and the power of 3, which is 2, is gonna be 9. Let me give an example of exponent for better understanding. So let's say that 3 underscore 3. So 3 power of 3, which is gonna be 27. So yeah, this is how exponent is work. The last one is basically mod, and for the mod is basically returning the remainder value when we divide. So let's say that a percentage b. So when you wanted to use mod, you have to define a percentage symbol. So 3 divided by 2, remainder is 1. So as you can see, so this is how arithmetic operator is work. Very simple, a simple mathematics. The next one is assignment operators. Assignment operator is used when you assign a values. For example, I wanted to add 4 with these 3 variables. Let's say that add 4. So using assignment operators like plus, equal to, 4, and if I return a, it gonna be 7. How? Let me explain further. So here what I did, so basically I take a variable a and I define 3, and then I make addition by using assignment operators. So for example, a plus 4. So this is how I write here by using assignment operator. It's much easier. It's like a more shortcut, instead of writing variable name again and then you can make addition. So by using assignment operator it made more clear. So it's basically used in the loop. We will discuss further in upcoming videos. Let's say that I wanted to subtract. Let's say that c is equal to 2, and I wanted to subtract 2 minus 1. So let's say this c minus equal to 1. So let me give example again, which what I'm doing here. So I'm going to see which is we already have 2 and then minus 1. So if I run this line of code, it will return 1. As you can see, 2 minus 1, which is 1. So this is how you can use assignment operator. You can use some other operations like, for example, divisions, multiplications, addition, and so on. So this is how assignment operators work. The next one is basically comparison operators. Comparison operator is very useful actually when we applying some filters, applying some conditions. So it's very handy using those comparison operator. We will apply those conditions. So we have different comparison operator. We will discuss one by one. So let's say that I want to take a variable a, and I said that 3. Let's take another variables which is b, and I define 2. So let's use first uh, comparison operator which is greater than. So for greater than, we use a symbol of this one as I write in the bracket, and let's say that I wanted to say that a greater than b, so it will return boolean values, so which mean that true or false. So as you can see that a 3 b2 3 greater than 2, which means true, so it will return as a true. So the next one that we can say that less than, so same variable values, for example 3 2, so let's say that a less than 2, does it b, sorry, let's say that, so false, because b 3 is less than 2, which is not correct, that's why it's written as a false. The next one is basically equal to, so for that you have to write double equal, let's say that I have a is equal to let's say that 2 equal to 2, so it will return true. So if I say that a equal to b, which is false, as we know that a is a we have a 3 and b we have a 2, which both are not equal, so that's why it's returned false. Here we said that true, 2 versus 2 is equal to, so that's why it's returned as a true. The next one we'll see the not equal to. So for use not equal to, so for that we have the symbol, this one and this one. Let's say that a not equal to b, and if I return it will true. Why? Because 3 not equal to 2, and which is true. So this is how actually a comparison operator is work. Actually it's very useful, especially when we're using loop or conditional statement, or using some arrays, strings, and applying some conditions. So these are very handy actually in that case. The next one is basically a logical operator. This is basically last operators that we will discuss in these sessions. And a logical operator is basically 3 common logical operators that we will use. One is or, and, or not. So let's take example to understanding better. Let's say that I wanted to a is equal to 2, b is equal to, let's say, 3. Let's say another two variables. Let's say that x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 5. So let's run, and let me give example of or logical operators. So let's say that a greater than b or x greater than y. So here we already discuss in a comparison operators, so you are already familiar with that. So what we did here, we say that a greater than b and x greater than y. So a, which is 2 greater than 3, which is false, or x greater than 5, which is also false. So it will return as a false. So if I say that, let me copy and change statement a bit. So let's say that a greater than b, which is false, we already know, but x less than y, so which is already know that 2 less than 5, which is true. So false or true, the return will be true. So false or false, the results will be false. And what we did here, so we said that false or true, the results will be true. So this is how our logical operator is work. So if both are true, it will return true. If one of them is true, it will return true. If both are false, it will return false. So the next one is basically AND operator. So let me explain with example. Let's say that 3 greater than 2 and 2 less than 1. So if I write false and true, the results will be false. Why false? Because in AND they'll make sure that all conditions are true. So if one of them it will be false, it will return as false. Or as we see in OR, here we will, if one condition is true, then it will return as a true. So let me give another example. Let's say that 2 equal to 2 and 3 greater than 2. Here our both condition are true, so it will true results. So as you can see here, so this is how AND operator is work. The next one is basically NOT. So how NOT is work is basically when it's true it will return false, and when it is false it return true. So let's take example. Let's say that not true. Let's say that, so it will return false. Let me give a proper example. Let's say that not 2 greater than 2, and if I run it, what will say that it will be true, because true greater than true is false and false not which is true. So this is how it works. Let me give another example. Let's say that not 2 greater than equal to 2, and if I run it, it will false, because 2 is equal to greater than equal. As you know that 2 either is greater than or equal to 2, which is true because both are equal, and true not which is false. So this is how not operators work. So this is that we discuss very briefly operators. We'll see arithmetic operator, we will check some addition, subtraction, division, then we'll see assignment operators. In the third we will see also comparison operators. We will compare some value and see the output, and in last we will discuss logical operator, which is AND or not. So this is how the operator is work. The next topic about today's session is typecasting. Typecasting is pretty much important when you change the data types. For example, you wanted to convert integers to float or float to integers and so on. So then typecastings will work. We'll see how we can change. Let's say that I wanted to change int to float. So let's take a value in integers. Let's say that I want to take 3, and let me check the type, as we know already. But so as you can see, it's integers. So let's convert integers to float. How we can do that? So let's say that a is equal to float, and I will return the value of a, and if I check the type of a, it will return as float. So what we did here, we take the value of integers, we check the type, as we already know it's integers, then we convert this integers value into float, by using float functions. So as we can see that we just check the type and it's a float. So let me print this value, it will return 2.0 3.0, sorry. So this is how integers to float is work. Let me take another example, which is float to integer. Float to int. So let's say that I wanted to take another value which is 3.2, and I wanted to convert float to integer. So let's say that x is equal to int x, and if I run x here, it will return as a 3 instead of 3.2. Why? Because we change the type of integers, so it will return only integers value. What we did here, we define a variable x is equal to 3.2, which we already know that is float value. Then we convert this 3.2 into integers. The result is 3, which is integers. So this is how float to integers work. Let me take another example. String to integer or float. So let's say that str to float. For that, there is some valid conditions for that. For example, I have a value in a quotes 3, and I said that I wanted to convert into float. As you know that whatever we write in the quotes, it will return as a string. So let me define you. Let me check the type. Let's say that I want to take the type of a, which we already know the string. So we can convert that kind of string into float or integers, because inside quotes it's digits. If it's a character or mixture of character or string, then it will returns invalid errors. So we'll see how it will work. Let's say that I wanted to convert into float, string to float. So let's say that is equal to float, and I will return a, and if I return a, it will return 3.0, because we have a string 3 and we change the data types, string to float, and it will return 3. So let's say if we have 3a, can we change this string into float? That we'll see. So we change or cannot change, you can write in the comments. So in the next 5 seconds, we'll see can we change or not. So let's say that float into a, and if I run, it will throw error, because we cannot convert string to float. So it's valid only if whatever we write in the codes is a digits, then we can change into float or integers. But if we have a mixture like characters, or for example with mixture of digits, then we cannot change. So this is how we can do typecasting. It's very useful actually when you have some cases and some assignments, then you want to change some data types, especially you wanted to values only in integers instead of float, and this is how it's work. The next topic for today's session is basically input function. What we do in input function is basically taking the input from the user. So for example, you build a game GTA 5, and in GTA 5 what we will do is basically taking the input from the users. For example, driving a car, for example catching someone, the riding, and so on. So this is a different way you can provide the input to the program, and program act based on your input. So let's say that I wanted to print my name. Let's say that name is equal to input. You just need input function and then whatever message you want to say. So let's say that enter your name, and I am going to print my name as well. So let's say that I said that Amir Ali. If I run, it will return my name, because I provide a user input here, which is my name. So this is how it works. One thing I wanted to mention, if you wanted to check the type, it will return as a string, as I mentioned here. Why? Because when you take input from the user, it will always return a string. So for example, if you need numbers instead of string, then first you need to convert into integers and take an input, and then you can work based on your program. That's how I discussed already in the typecasting. That's it. That was the end of today's sessions. I hope you enjoyed it. Today we discuss variables, and we also see different data types. For example, integers, float, string, booleans, and then we also discuss various operations. For example, arithmetic, assignment, logical operators, and then we also discuss typecasting, how we change one data type to another using function, for example integers, float. And then we last one that we see how we take input from the user. If you want the source code, just follow the link. This is our website where you'll find all the source code informations. And please subscribe, share and like, and see you until in next video.